Welcome to another deep dive. We're going deep into the Star Wars galaxy today, but not to the usual spots. Yeah, we're going to
Oh,
skip those epic battles and the Jedi wisdom
right.
to get up close and personal with a character who's small in stature, but huge EE on personality.
Okay, I am intrigued.
Salacious B. Crumb.
Salacious B. Crumb. You know, it's interesting how these seemingly minor characters in these big franchises like Star Wars often become fan favorites.
Yeah.
Crumb, despite his limited screen time, is definitely one of them.
Yeah, he's that cackling Kowakian monkey lizard
Right.
perched on Jabba the Hutt's days.
Yeah.
So today we're diving into Wikipedia to uncover the surprising depths of this creature. And we're going to start with his origins.
Okay, sounds good.
Apparently, Crumb wasn't born into Jabba's court. He actually stowed away on Jabba's starship and was captured.
Wow. Can you imagine being discovered by a notorious crime lord like Jabba?
No.
It really makes you wonder what kind of desperation or maybe misplaced adventurous spirit would lead a creature like Crumb to sneak onto a mob boss's ship.
Right. It's not exactly a wise move for someone seeking a long and peaceful life.
No, not at all. And yet he managed to not only survive, but thrive in that environment for over 12 years.
That's where it gets interesting. He struck a deal with Jabba to avoid becoming a snack.
Oh, really?
Wikipedia says that he had to amuse the Hutt at least once a day or face death.
Oh, wow.
Talk about high-pressure stand-up comedy.
I know, right?
It makes you wonder if Crumb was naturally funny or if the threat of death really sparked his comedic genius.
That is a good question. Was Crumb simply a jester, or did he serve a more complex function in Jabba's court?
Hmm.
You know, throughout history, court jesters have often played a more significant role than just providing laughs.
Oh, really?
They could offer veiled criticisms, they could speak truth to power, or even act as confidants to their rulers.
That's really interesting.
Perhaps Crumb served a similar purpose for Jabba.
It's not just about his relationship with Jabba, though.
Right.
He seems to have a unique dynamic with everyone in the palace. Wikipedia mentions that he would mercilessly tease Jabba's captives,
Oh, wow.
mimicking their movements and sounds.
That's pretty messed up.
How did he get away with that?
Well, you have to remember the dynamics of power and cruelty in Jabba's court.
Right.
This is a place where entertainment is often derived from the suffering of others.
Oh, yeah.
Crumb's antics, while cruel, likely appealed to Jabba's sadistic tendencies.
So in a way, Crumb's cruelty was almost a survival tactic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He had to cater to Jabba's twisted sense of humor to stay alive.
Oh, wow.
He was playing to his audience,
Right.
and it wasn't just the captives. He would mimic anyone and everyone courtiers, visitors, even Jabba himself.
He even stole food right off of Jabba's days.
That takes some serious guts.
Imagine snatching a snack from a giant slug-like crime lord.
I know.
But even Crumb's audacity had its limit.
Oh.
There's that famous scene in Return of the Jedi where Darth Vader arrives at Jabba's palace.
Oh, right.
Remember what happens?
Yeah, Vader walks in all dark and intimidating,
Right.
ready to negotiate the release of Han Solo.
Yeah.
And while Jabba's thugs are busy shooting at banthas for target practice,
Oh, yeah.
Crumb just bursts into laughter.
Laughing in the face of Darth Vader that's either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid.
It could be a bit of both.
Yeah.
It raises the question, did Crumb truly understand the danger he was in, or was he so accustomed to Jabba's protection that he felt invincible?
Maybe he was just living in the moment, lost in the absurdity of the situation.
That's possible.
Like he couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
But Vader was not amused. He
Yeah.
basically told Jabba to get his pet under control or else.
Yeah, that moment really highlights the precariousness of Crumb's position.
Right.
He was tolerated, even favored within Jabba's court, but that favor could be revoked in an instant.
Especially when someone like Darth Vader enters the picture.
Exactly.
That makes you wonder what was going through Crumb's mind at that moment. Did he feel fear, regret, or was he just oblivious to the danger he'd narrowly avoided?
It's a fascinating question, and it speaks to the enigma that is Salacious B. Crumb.
Right. He's more than just comic relief. He's a creature of contradictions. A jester who navigates a world of danger and cruelty with a strange mix of wit, audacity, and perhaps a touch of naivete.
And it's this complexity that makes him such a compelling character.
Speaking of compelling Crumb was a witness to some pretty major events in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, yeah, he's right there in the middle of everything.
Remember his reactions to C-3PO and R2-D2 arriving with Luke Skywalker's message?
Oh, absolutely. He's like the ultimate, albeit somewhat twisted observer.
Yeah.
He's fascinated by these new arrivals, and his reactions, a blend of curiosity and mischief,
Yeah.
add another layer to those scenes.
And let's not forget his morbid fascination with Ula's tragic demise in the Rancor pit.
Oh, yeah.
It's a disturbing scene,
Right.
but Crumb's reaction, a mixture of fear and amusement, underscores the dark humor that permeates Jabba's palace.
It's almost as if he's watching a macabre puppet show.
Right.
His laughter is unsettling, yet it also reveals something about the twisted psychology of those who inhabit this world. It's a reminder that humor, even in its darkest forms, can be a coping mechanism, a way of dealing with the horrors that surround them.
It's a sobering thought, but it also makes you realize that there's more to this creature than meets the eye.
Exactly.
He's not just a cackling sidekick.
Right.
He's a complex character, a product of his environment, shaped by the violence and depravity that surrounds him.
He's a reflection of the dark underbelly of the Star Wars universe. A reminder that even in a galaxy far, far away, there are those who exist on the fringes,
Yeah.
forced to adapt and survive in the shadows of power and corruption.
He's a survivor, that's for sure.
But his story takes a dark turn on Jabba's sail barge.
Oh, yeah. His demise is as dramatic and chaotic as his life.
First, he's zapped by R2-D2 in a fit of rage.
Oh, wow.
It seems he couldn't comprehend the loss of Jabba and lashes out at the nearest target.
It makes you wonder if beneath all the chaos and cruelty, there was a genuine attachment to Jabba.
Yeah.
A sense of loyalty that transcended his own self-preservation.
That's a really interesting point. Maybe there was a genuine bond there, however twisted it might have been.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Crumb, that electric shock wasn't the end to his troubles.
No. The real kicker is what happens next.
What's that?
When the sail barge explodes, he's hurled into the Sarlacc pit along with the rest of Jabba's entourage.
Wow, a gruesome end to a life lived on the edge.
Yeah.
It's a grim reminder that even the most adaptable creatures can fall victim to the unpredictable nature of the galaxy.
Right.
But before we get too morbid, let's delve deeper into Crumb's personality.
Okay.
Wikipedia reveals some intriguing details.
Like what?
Apparently, he was known for his sharp wit, his complete lack of respect for authority, and believe it or not, his love for Jabba's wriggling tail.
It's details like this that make him so much more than just a background character.
It really does.
It raises the question, is he truly evil or just an amoral creature seeking survival and pleasure in a chaotic world?
That's a great question, and I think the answer might lie somewhere in between.
Yeah.
He clearly revels in the suffering of others, but there's also a sense that he's driven by instinct and a desire to please Jabba,
Right.
his only source of safety and sustenance.
It's a complex dynamic.
And there's one more detail we need to add to the mix. Remember the quote from Lugubria's Moat?
No.
She described Crumb as being dumber than a newborn rancor.
Oh, wow. That certainly adds a new layer to our understanding of Crumb.
Yeah.
Perhaps his chaotic nature wasn't entirely intentional, but rather a byproduct of his limited intellectual capacity. But intelligent or not, Salacious B. Crumb left an unforgettable mark on the Star Wars galaxy.
Absolutely. And speaking of unforgettable, you won't believe how he got his name.
Really?
It's a story involving puppeteer Phil Tippett, a few too many drinks, and the word shoelaces.
Oh my gosh.
We'll dive into that hilarious tale right after we explore a few more intriguing details about this little creature.
Okay, I can't wait.
Stay with us.
All right.
We're just getting started.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've talked about Crumb's life in Jabba's palace, his strained relationship with the crime lord, and his wild antics.
Right?
But let's rewind a bit and talk about how this chaotic little creature got his name.
Okay.
Wikipedia mentions it was a complete accident involving puppeteer Phil Tippett
Oh, really?
and a few too many beers.
It's a story that really highlights the unpredictable nature of creativity, you know?
Yeah.
How sometimes the best ideas come from the most unexpected places.
I can relate to that. I spend hours sometimes trying to come up with the perfect name for a character in my scripts.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to have just the right feel, you know?
Absolutely. And in this case, they needed a name that captured Crumb's mischievous personality, his strange vocalizations,
Yeah.
his overall Crumb-like appearance.
So the story goes that after a particularly long brainstorming session, fueled by a few pitchers of beer,
Oh.
Tippett bent down to tie his shoelaces.
Okay.
And as luck would have it, instead of saying shoelaces, the word that came out was something like salacious. It was a drunken slip of the tongue, a moment of pure serendipity.
So what happened?
I can just imagine the room falling silent as everyone processes this new word.
Right. Was it brilliant?
Was it nonsensical?
Is it just the beer talking?
Well, someone in the group saw the comedic potential, the sheer absurdity of it.
Yeah.
They pitched salacious, to Lucas,
Mm.
who initially rejected it,
Oh, no.
but the name had a certain stickiness to it, a strange charm that was hard to resist.
Right.
Lucas eventually came around
Good.
and added Crumb
Oh, okay.
as a nod to underground comic book artist Robert Crumb.
Interesting.
And thus the legend of Salacious B. Crumb was born.
Wow. It's amazing how these seemingly random events can shape pop culture.
I know, a slip of the tongue, a few too many beers,
Right.
and boom, you have one of the most memorable names in Star Wars history.
It speaks to the importance of being open to the unexpected.
Yeah.
Embracing those moments of creative chaos that can lead to something truly unique and memorable.
But let's not forget that Crumb's journey to the screen wasn't without its bumps.
What do you mean?
Wikipedia mentions some cutscenes featuring Crumb and Bib Fortuna that never made it into the final film.
Yes, the mysteries of the editing room.
Right.
Those decisions are often made for practical reasons. Time constraints, pacing issues, concerns about clarity or tone.
Right.
But it always makes you wonder what stories those scenes could have told.
So what do we know about these cutscenes? Were they just brief moments, or did they involve something more substantial?
From what I've gathered, there were several scenes involving Crumb and Bib Fortuna,
Yeah.
Jabba's major domo,
Right.
that ended up on the cutting room floor.
It's hard to say for sure what they contained,
Yeah.
but it's likely they explored the dynamic between these two characters.
Perhaps their rivalry for Jabba's favor.
Right.
Or their involvement in some shady dealings.
Imagine that. Crumb and Bib Fortuna scheming together in the shadows of Jabba's palace.
It would have been fascinating to see their personalities clash, their different approaches to navigating the criminal underworld.
Crumb the chaotic jester, and Bib Fortuna the cunning manipulator.
It's an interesting thought experiment.
Did those scenes offer a different perspective on Crumb, perhaps revealing a level of cunning or ambition that we don't see in the final film?
Yeah.
Or were they simply more the same, emphasizing his role as the court jester, the source of amusement and chaos?
It's a shame we may never know for sure.
I know, maybe someday those lost scenes will be released, offering us a glimpse into the creative process and the choices that shape the stories we see on screen.
Yeah.
But speaking of things that were cut,
Oh,
did you know that Crumb almost had a much larger role in Return of the Jedi?
really? I hadn't heard that. Tell me more.
Well, early concept art for the film actually depicted Crumb in a cage,
Oh, wow.
held captive by Bib Fortuna after Fortuna took over Jabba's palace.
Interesting.
The idea was that Crumb and Fortuna were rivals constantly vying for Jabba's favor. But in the end, Fortuna emerged victorious, leaving Crumb imprisoned.
That would have been an interesting twist.
Right.
It suggests a more complex power dynamic within Jabba's court, a constant struggle for influence and control.
And it raises the question, how would Crumb have reacted to being imprisoned by his rival? Would he have plotted his escape?
Yeah.
Would he have used his wit and charm to manipulate his way back into Fortuna's good graces?
I can picture him orchestrating a prison break,
Yeah.
perhaps inciting a riot among the other captives, or using his sharp teeth to gnaw through the bars.
Or maybe he would have tried to appeal to Fortuna's vanity, convincing him that keeping a jester around was a sign of power and prestige.
It's fascinating to think about the possibilities, the paths not taken.
But ultimately, the filmmakers decided to go in a different direction, focusing on Crumb's role as Jabba's jester and culminating in his dramatic demise on the sail barge.
And even though he didn't end up with a larger role, Crumb still managed to leave an undeniable mark on the Star Wars universe.
Absolutely. He's a reminder that even the smallest characters can have a big impact.
Yeah.
That sometimes the most memorable moments come from the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. Salacious B. Crumb might not have been a Jedi Master or a galactic senator.
Right.
But his story reminds us that even in a galaxy far, far away, there's room for the weird, the wild, and the utterly unforgettable.
He's a symbol of the strange and wonderful diversity of life in that galaxy.
Yeah.
A testament to the fact that even in the darkest corners, there's always room for a little bit of laughter, a little bit of chaos, and a whole lot of personality.
And that brings us to a crucial question.
Okay.
Is Salacious B. Crumb simply comic relief? Or is there more to his story? Is he a cautionary tale, a symbol of resilience, or something else entirely?
That's a great question, and I think the answer might lie somewhere in between.
Right.
Crumb's life and death offer a glimpse into the complexities of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
A reminder that even the smallest creatures can have profound stories to tell. But we're not quite done with Salacious B. Crumb yet. There's one more aspect of the story we need to explore.
Okay.
What can his chaotic existence teach us about our own lives?
Mm.
We'll dive into that after a quick look at what some Star Wars fans have to say about the infamous Kowakian monkey lizard. So we've explored Salacious B. Crumb's life and his strange journey to the screen and even how he got his name. But let's shift gears for a minute and get a little philosophical.
Okay.
What can we learn from this chaotic little creature?
Mm.
What does his story tell us about our own place in the universe?
It's a fascinating question on the surface. Crumb might seem like nothing more than a comedic sidekick, a source of cheap laughs, but I think there's something deeper there, something that resonates with our own human experience.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, consider Crumb's existence. He lived in a world of constant danger, surrounded by powerful figures who could crush him at any moment. His survival depended on his ability to amuse Jabba to navigate the treacherous currents of that criminal underworld.
It's a precarious existence, to say the least, kind of like trying to ride a unicycle on a tightrope over a pit of hungry rankers.
Precisely. And yet, despite those odds, Crumb thrived. He carved out a niche for himself, using his wit and his lack of inhibitions to gain a measure of power and influence.
Yeah.
In a way, he represents the resilience of the human spirit, our ability to adapt and survive even in the most challenging circumstances.
You know, I'd never thought of Crumb as a symbol of resilience before, but it makes sense. He was constantly having to think on his feet, to improvise, to make the best of a bad situation. He was a survivor through and through.
Exactly. And there's also something to be said for his embrace of chaos. He didn't try to control his environment. He simply went with the flow, reveling in the absurdity of it all, in a world that often feels overwhelming and unpredictable. Maybe there's a lesson to be learned from Crumb's acceptance of the unpredictable nature of life.
So instead of stressing over every little detail, maybe we should just loosen up, embrace the chaos, and laugh at the absurdity of it all.
Perhaps, of course, I'm not suggesting we all start stealing food off our boss's plates or mimicking our colleagues in a mocking fashion, but there's something to be said for not taking ourselves too seriously, for finding humor in the unexpected twists and turns of life.
It's a good reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always room for laughter, for a little bit of levity. But of course, Crumb's story also has a tragic element. His demise was sudden, violent, and ultimately out of his control.
And that, I think, is a reminder of our own mortality, of the fragility of life. No matter how clever or resourceful we are, no matter how much we strive to control our destinies, there are forces beyond our comprehension that can sweep us away in an instant.
It's a sobering thought, but it's also a reminder to cherish the moments we have, to appreciate the beauty and the absurdity of life, and to embrace the chaos with a little bit of laughter, just like Salacious B. Crumb in his own strange and wonderful way.
Well said. And if we can learn to do that, maybe we can avoid ending up as a tasty snack for a giant sarlacc.
I think that's a goal we can all get behind. So as you go about your day, remember the lessons of Salacious B. Crumb. Embrace the chaos, find the humor, and never underestimate the power of a good laugh, even in the face of a giant sand-dwelling monster. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the strange and wonderful world of Star Wars.